All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual who is set to compete at BFL 74, and that goes down October the 12th. It is a BFL featherweight title fight. We have Taylor Christopher contending for Mateo Vogel's hardware, and very excited to be talking to Mateo on today's show. How's your day going so far there, man?
It's going fantastic so far, man. Just crushed some championship rounds, man. So, right now, my gas tank's doing phenomenal.
Yeah, and I got to get the specifics on the championship rounds. Like, who were we working with there, and were we getting in that work at New Era Combat Sports?
Right now, well, that was with Jeff Harrison. So, anytime I work with Jeff, he's pushing me. He's pushing the cardio. He's pushing the willpower, right? Yeah, so at the same time, Alex O'Neill is getting ready for his fight on Unified next week as well. So that's been kind of a primary body I've been working with too.
Yeah, he seems like a guy that's on the rise, like undefeated now and everything like that. So I feel like he'd be a good guy to be getting in that work with, and especially because he has a fight that's trending soon as well.
One of the biggest beasts around, man. I wouldn't miss that fight. He's this guy. This guy is like a pure friggin' beast in every area. There's nobody who pushes me or tests me like that guy does. That I've trained with. I've trained with some high level guys.
Yeah, that's a great body to be getting in that work with there, and it kind of articulates like the scenes in a better place, like post pandemic and all. Just like with him being on a Unified card set to broadcast on Fight Pass, and they're doing great stuff, and you're getting ready to be on a UFC Fight Pass broadcasted card with BFL and stuff like that. So yeah, it seems like a good time for the Canadian scene as a whole.
Feels like normal times again, man. It feels like everything's recovered. It had been a dark couple of years, and for MMA, everything's pretty stagnant. But the ball's rolling now, and our team's rolling in full force. So it's a great vibe to have in the gym. Once again, just like when I started, like there's a bunch of us all fighting back to back, and it's just the vibe in the room it's there. There's winning in the air. It's just that environment of success. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you talk about Alex O'Neill, and you talk about he's like one of the better guys I've gotten in work with, and I've gotten in work with some great individuals. Like, who are some other people that you've been specifically kind of working with in the last little while, just culminating in this championship victory you relatively recently had?
Well, I'm working very closely with my coach Peter as well, Professor Peter, and he's competing this week on a grappling show. So like I said, the vibe in the gym is everyone's preparing for something. So we've all got there's a real focus in the room. You know what I mean? So working with Peter again, world class black belts. So whoever's coming at me in grappling, I'm always sharp. For this reason, I'm working with world class black belts on the regular. You know what I mean? It's not just a matter of he's my coaches, my mentors, but at the same time they're preparing to be active competitors too. So it keeps me on my toes, and I'm sharp all the time. So Peter is one of those bodies, I'd say, and a couple of guys on the rise. I work with Jake Govro quite a bit, and I work with Muhammad Ado as well. So these are the kind of my primary bodies lately that I've been getting my work in with.
Yeah, it's a great dynamic. I think it would help too with the coaches actively competing, as you sort of talked about there, a leading by example kind of mentality almost.
Lead from the front of the pack. That's it. You know what I mean? The guys at the front are marching into battle as well.
Yeah.
Somebody sitting on the sidelines yelling at you.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a good way to be looking at it for sure. But I did want to kind of address that last fight there, just because leading into it, we were, talking about it being for a title and how, important it was being the first title opportunity you had as a pro. And you were saying it would be the culmination of my hard work for the past 4+ years. What did that moment feel like? I mean, is it an indescribable feeling? Is there a lot of catharsis and relief? How would you, I guess, describe the moment of getting the belt wrapped around you?
Well, I'm the kind of guy where it's relief, right? It feels like it fits. It feels like something that belongs. So it's an event that I've already visualized and I've already prepared for mentally, right? I've already mentally prepared to be a champion. I already knew it would happen. I've already said to myself every morning. I've already written into my journal every single day of my life. So I already knew that these things would happen. To be a champion is more, that day was more of a fulfillment of that and like checking off a box. So it's a step that needed to happen along the way, and it feels like it fits. So everything's basically on track at this point.
Yeah, and I would think you'd be especially satisfied. Obviously you're putting in the hard work, but it seemed like an issue for a bit too, was just like lining up different fights and trying to get things going, but a lot of people not necessarily jumping at the opportunity to fight you there. So I would think there was a level of appreciation getting out there and,
people ducking me and being fucking pussies about it, yeah, like people not wanting to fight, that's kind of the culture that's built now, right? We have the culture of like Immaculate records now. People want to have, that they want to keep their O or whatever. They want to have that virgin record, but kind of people are picking and choosing a little too much because they're afraid of that. So the thing is, the way I look at it, my mentality is, if I'm tested now, if I'm tested at the earlier stages, if I'm going against hard guys, like that proves that I belong at the next level, right? So this is why, what's great about that is now that I'm champion, I'm kind of the guy that you've got to chase. Yeah, I'm the guy that everyone wants to fight now, right? So that takes a lot of stress off of that, because for several years finding a fight was tricky.
And that's kind of curious. I'm trying to find a way to phrase this almost, but does the mentality and the, I guess, curve of improvement or rate of improvement you'd like to have kind of change a little bit as you become in the champion role versus previously being a challenger? Or is it the same linear kind of work ethic that you've always maintained for years now?
I never really lost my work ethic, but it's definitely a little bit extra motivation, for sure. Today just training, for example, Kuch after I got my belt and put it right in front of me, right when we're doing conditioning, just a reminder, whose goddamn belt that is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I'm wondering, like, what the thoughts on the upcoming opponent are. Like, are you someone who's, like, generally, like, doing a fair bit of tape study on your opponents, or more so focusing on your individual refinement to be fluid with wherever the fight goes when it happens?
I learn about my opponents. I learn about them. I respect them. I respect this guy. But at the end of the day, I'm focused on me. I'm focused on what I like to do, what I want to do. I like to learn about the opponents in terms of, Taylor Christopher looks like a very athletic guy. Looks like a little powerhouse. So, I'm looking forward to another hard fight. I'm not too concerned about being dragged anywhere. I'm kind of sitting in a spot where I can fight in any realm of this sport. You know what I mean? I'm not out of my depth anywhere. So to overly focus on an opponent, I think you kind of lose the opportunity to focus on yourself.
Well, that's fair, and we kind of like talked about that one of the last times that we were chatting, just like talking about the growth of your striking and just really the overall MMA game in the last couple of years and everything like that. So kind of derivative of that a little bit.
Yeah, man. In the last fight, I didn't really have a chance to strike much either in the last fight. It's kind of a thing, like, it's been a thing where I've never really gotten that much of an opportunity to stand and bang with people. The exception being Kieran Armfield, where I got my face boxed off. But, that, if you think about that, that's already a year and a half ago. Like, just the rate of improvement has been so high, like, in the past couple of years. Like, that's what the pandemic was great for. Gave me a lot of time to just train and hone and focus and kind of come back a new fighter. Every fight has done that too. You know what I mean? Like every fight you come back a new fighter. Like I'm not even resembling the same guy every single time.
Yeah, and Yeah, that's the intriguing thing about this sport. That almost kind of could reflect on your opponent to a degree too, just because he has a couple of rear naked choke wins as a pro, but it's also been close to a year and a half since he's competed. So an interesting thing, like could be some new wrinkles to the game that aren't, available on tape.
The other thing too, that's the other thing with studying Taylor, is that there's not much new footage on him. There's not anything, and in my opinion, I'm not going to gauge him off of footage that's from 5 years ago or something like that. This is not the same guy anymore. We all improved so fast, man. So like to assume that the guy is just like he was last time can be a little foolish. And I've gone in there with assumptions in the past. I mean, you go in there with presumptions about your opponent, you're destined to be kind of caught off guard. If you're that's also to be said, if you're overly focused on your opponent. If you're overly expecting an opponent to do this and do that, and suddenly he doesn't, you're kind of shitting your pants. You know what I mean? So to go in there more focused on like the self and more focused on your own game is key, especially when you can't really get a good read on somebody who's not an active fighter. That's the way I look at that.
Yeah, I get what you're laying down in that sense. I guess I'm sort of curious as to like the, contractual dynamics with BFL right now, this being your second fight under the banner right now. Like what kind of contractual agreement do you presently have with them, like total amount of fights?
I've got, I believe it's this one and another one, or it's this one and two others. I have to look at it again. But yeah, I'm fine for them to defend the title, and I look forward to defending this 145 strap. I'm looking to stay active afterwards too. Like I'm looking to basically smash everybody at this point. I'm not looking to take a break. I don't need no vacation. I'm looking to go to work and have an active remainder of the year, man.
So like if all things kind of fall into place as you would, I guess, idealistically be looking at it, like maybe even get in one more this calendar year if you had your druthers?
That's it. I don't want to jump ahead and kind of look at. I don't want to jump the gun and look past anything. But I'm ready to stay active. Once I beat this guy, I'm on to another guy. You know what I mean? I'm looking to smash one guy, another guy right after the other. I'm looking to make a big statement. I'm destined for the big show. So I need opportunities to really make a statement to get there, right? So I think this is the best opportunity for that.
Yeah, for sure, and that can represent a few different things to different people. Like, I mean, it's a great time to be a fighter now, I think. Like, I mean, you got like, UFC, obviously, Bellator, ONE, PFL, etc. Like, what does a big stage represent to you going forward?
Same thing being a champion represented. It's just a culmination of hard work. It's where I belong. I could say it's a childhood dream or whatever, but at this point, it feels like something which is in front of my nose, and it feels like it's just kind of where you belong. It's something that fits in my journey, and it's where I believe I should be.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I was just wondering if you were like looking at a particular platform versus like another organization, or if it's kind of just like whatever happens to pop up. Like, maybe you don't have like a clearly, like, do you have like a specifically defined idea of what big stage represents, or kind of just like any of these promotions just fighting like world class kind of talent?
I want to fight in the UFC. I want to fight in the big show, man. This is the thing I've grown up watching, and I think a lot of fighters can say this too. But I've really grown up watching this since I was a kid, and being a champion in the UFC is a big deal. I remember watching George St. Pierre when I was a kid, and on that stage, like, the UFC means something to me. So being there would be like the fulfillment of a dream and the culmination of hard work, and it just feels deserved for me. That's what I'd say it means.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a journey for sure, and it's going to be exciting to see this next chapter unfurl with that in the next like few weeks. But yeah, I do want to be mindful of your time and the rest of your schedule too, though, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, but I'm just curious if there's maybe anything you might want to add as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up here, Mateo.
I just say I just say I look forward to going to. I'd say the same thing. I look forward to going to work in 3 weeks. Like, again, this is the culmination of hard work, but it's like this is my chance to show off and really showcase what I can do. So, if you tune into this fight, you're going to see a whole different side of me that I've never been able to show before. Within these 5 rounds, too, I'm looking to whether it's a quick finish or whether it has to go the distance. I know that I'm ready. I know that I've done the work, and I know I'm ready to show off.
Well, it's going to be a very exciting fight to see, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you defend that BFL featherweight title in the co-main event, and people can check that out on UFC Fight Pass October 12th when BFL 74 goes down. And yeah, to reiterate, thanks for coming on the show, man. Appreciate the insights, and just looking forward to checking out the fight when it goes down, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day there, man.
You too, man. Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.